Imagine that before we even take our first breath in this world, there is a sacred choice. Not an arbitrary or impulsive decision, but one made by the soul in its infinite wisdom, foreseeing the path ahead. This choice isn't guided by rewards or ease but by a profound commitment to growth, the expansion of consciousness, and the spiritual journey. The choice of the family we are born into is one of the most significant decisions a soul can make. And, as contradictory as it may seem, it is precisely in the most challenging environments that the opportunities for transformation become clearest. Picture for a moment that the soul, in planning its earthly experience, does not seek only comfort and harmony. It seeks the lessons that will elevate its understanding. It looks at family patterns, at cycles of pain that repeat generation after generation, and sees a fertile ground for learning. That's why often we are born into families that carry difficult histories, fragile bonds, or even relationships marked by conflict and hurt. The soul, with its inherent courage, sees these challenges as opportunities to grow, heal, and become the point of transformation for an entire lineage. It's not a simple choice. The soul that accepts this role is the one that takes on the responsibility of breaking cycles of pain. It is the one that agrees to carry the torch of change, even if it means bearing the weight of generations that came before. These chosen ones are those who, even amidst chaos, have the strength to look within and say, I can transform this pain into love. I can bring light where there was once darkness. If you've ever felt that your family environment feels more like a test than a safe haven, perhaps that's a sign that you were chosen. Not as a punishment but as a divine invitation. An opportunity to be the person who breaks the cycle, who interrupts patterns of suffering, and begins a new story for yourself and those who will come after. This is the role of the chosen ones, to transform pain into healing and darkness into light. When we view toxic families through the lens of the spiritual journey, we realize that they are not merely sources of pain but true catalysts for transformation. They are like fire, which, though intense and destructive, is also the agent that purifies and strengthens. In the metaphor of transformative fire, we are like raw metal, needing to pass through flames to reveal our true essence. Family toxicity, as challenging as it is, acts as this spiritual forge, shaping and refining us in ways we might never have imagined. Toxic families often carry deeply rooted ancestral patterns. These are behaviors, beliefs, and dynamics that repeat over generations, often unconsciously. These patterns can include unresolved traumas, dysfunctional relationships, and stifling expectations. And as painful as it is to live amidst these dynamics, it's important to understand that they didn't arise from nowhere. They are echoes of past pain, passed down from one generation to the next, waiting for someone brave enough to break them. This is where the role of the chosen ones comes in. These souls, who even before being born, take on the responsibility of breaking these cycles. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. The chosen ones are those with the sensitivity to perceive what is wrong and the strength to seek a new direction. They are the ones who often feel from an early age that they don't completely fit into the family dynamic, as if they are different. But this difference is not a weakness. It is the indication that they possess the ability to see beyond, to question established patterns, and to bring meaningful change. The journey within a toxic family is filled with challenges. But each difficulty faced is also an opportunity for growth. It's a chance to learn to set healthy boundaries, to develop self-awareness, and to cultivate compassion for oneself and others. Because, contrary to what we often think, family toxicity is not a punishment but a learning field. It is the forge where we are shaped to become more authentic and resilient versions of ourselves. The toxicity we face in families is often a mirror. It reflects not only the dysfunctional patterns of the family dynamic but also the internal wounds we carry, some conscious, others deeply buried in our subconscious. This reflection can be painful but also deeply revealing. It invites us to look within, to confront parts of ourselves we might prefer to ignore. When a family member criticizes or rejects us, it's common to feel anger, sadness, or frustration. However, instead of seeing these interactions solely as external acts of toxicity, we can start asking ourselves, why does this affect me so much? What is this situation trying to teach me about myself? Often, these experiences trigger emotions that reveal our insecurities, fears, and limiting beliefs. It's as if the other's toxic behavior brings to light aspects of our own shadow, as Carl Jung described, showing us what still needs to be integrated and healed. Viewing toxicity as a mirror doesn't mean justifying abusive behavior or accepting harmful situations. On the contrary, it's an invitation to shift our perspective and recognize that every confrontation is an opportunity for self-awareness. When someone tries to make us feel inadequate, we can use that experience to reflect. Where within me do I already believe I'm not enough? Why does this message resonate within me? This process of self-discovery is not easy, but it is incredibly transformative. It gives us the chance to take responsibility for our own healing rather than placing all the power in others' behavior. Instead of reacting automatically to toxicity with pain or resentment, we can choose to observe, learn, and grow. This doesn't mean we accept negativity, but rather that we learn to use it as a strengthening tool. This practice requires a combination of courage and compassion. Courage to look within and face our own wounds, and compassion to understand that those who hurt us are often merely reproducing the wounds they carry. By recognizing this, we can start to break the cycle, not by accepting or perpetuating toxic behavior but by transforming it into opportunities for spiritual evolution. The philosophical and spiritual perspective offers profound insights into why we face such intense family challenges. At the heart of these difficulties is the idea that the soul, before incarnating, consciously chooses experiences that will promote its learning and growth. This choice is neither arbitrary nor punitive. It is made with the understanding that each challenge carries within it the seed of transformation. Through this lens, suffering is no longer seen merely as a burden but as a catalyst. The philosophy of many spiritual traditions, from Buddhism to Christian mysticism, points to the transformative role of pain. It is in suffering that we are confronted with the deepest and rawest parts of ourselves, those we often avoid. It forces us to question, seek meaning, and ultimately transcend. This idea can also be found in ancient texts, such as those of Plato, who suggested that the soul is forged in the contrast between light and darkness. The fire of adversity molds the spirit, stripping away impurities and allowing its true essence to shine. In Hindu tradition, this same notion is expressed through the figure of Kali, a goddess who represents both destruction and renewal. She symbolizes the inevitable cycle of life, destroying to rebuild, purifying to evolve. Accepting that the soul chooses challenges as part of its learning is a paradigm shift. Instead of feeling like victims of circumstances, we begin to understand that moments of difficulty are part of a greater purpose. Every pain and conflict is a step leading us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. Still, this acceptance is not passive. Recognizing the role of suffering does not mean resigning to it but using it as a tool for growth. When facing toxic families, for example, the spiritual invitation is not merely to endure but to transform. It's learning to discern between what is ours and what belongs to others, integrating the lessons while leaving behind what no longer serves our purpose. This journey is, above all, an act of faith. Faith in a greater purpose, faith in our ability to overcome, and faith in the transformative power of love. Love for ourselves, for others, and for the universe. Every time we choose to grow rather than retreat, we honor this faith and draw closer to our divine essence. Additionally, the practice of detachment is crucial for breaking cycles of pain. Letting go of what we cannot control, whether it's the approval of others or the desire to change someone who is not ready to change, frees us to focus on our own evolution. Detachment is not a renunciation of empathy or love but rather a recognition that every human being has their own path and that our role is to align with ours. Breaking cycles of pain is not a linear process, nor is it something that happens overnight. There will be moments of progress and moments of regression. There will be challenges and internal and external resistance. Yet every small step on this journey is a victory, a reaffirmation of our commitment to healing and expansion. Each layer of pain we face and release brings us closer to our true essence and the greater purpose we have chosen to fulfill. Forgiveness is a profoundly transformative tool, capable of dissolving the invisible chains that tie us to past hurts. However, it is also one of the most challenging spiritual practices, especially when dealing with wounds that seem to have been inflicted by those who were supposed to protect and love us. When we think of forgiveness, we often interpret it as an act directed toward others, but in truth, forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It is not an endorsement of someone else's behavior but a choice to release the emotional burden that keeps us bound to suffering. Forgiving does not mean forgetting or justifying. This is an important distinction to understand deeply. Forgiveness does not invalidate the pain we felt or the harm that was done. On the contrary, it acknowledges the pain, confronts it head-on, and with courage chooses to release it. When we hold on to resentment or grudges, it's as if we're gripping a rope that keeps us tethered to the past, a rope that drains our energy and prevents us from moving forward. Forgiveness cuts that rope, allowing us to regain control over our emotions and our lives. One of the deepest ways to practice forgiveness is to start with ourselves. Often, we are our own harshest critics, perpetuating internal dialogues filled with guilt and self-sabotage. When we allow ourselves to forgive our own mistakes, we create space for acceptance and self-love. It's like opening a door to healing. By practicing self-forgiveness, we learn to treat ourselves with the same compassion we wish to extend to others. External forgiveness, directed toward those who have hurt us, can be more complex. Some wounds run so deep that they seem insurmountable. But in such situations, forgiveness can be practiced in stages. It begins with intention. Even if forgiving seems impossible at first, simply cultivating the desire to one day reach that state is a significant step. This intention acts as a seed that, over time, can bloom into liberation. There are spiritual practices that aid in this process. One is visualization. Imagine the person who caused you pain as a flawed human being, perhaps carrying their own wounds and limitations. Visualize yourself releasing the pain that ties you to this person, sending them a wish for peace, not for their sake but for yours. This symbolic act not only alleviates emotional tension but also strengthens your spiritual energy. Another powerful practice is writing a forgiveness letter. Pouring out everything you feel, your pain, unspoken words, and finally, your desire to free yourself from the weight of this relationship, can be profoundly healing. You don't need to send the letter. It exists as an act of liberation for yourself. The impact of forgiveness on our spiritual journey is immeasurable. It helps us strengthen self-love because in releasing grudges, we reaffirm our commitment to inner peace. It also connects us to a higher vibration because we shed the weight of negativity and align with energies of compassion and gratitude. Forgiveness is a process, and each step, no matter how small, is a significant advance toward healing. It is not a singular act but a continuous practice of letting go. And in doing so, we discover that forgiveness is not just a gift we give ourselves but also a path to transform our relationship with the world and others. The legacy of the chosen ones is not limited to their own transformation. It reverberates through time, affecting both the past and the future of their lineage. When someone takes on the responsibility of breaking cycles of pain and healing ancestral patterns, they become a bridge between generations, a catalyst for the healing of those who came before and those yet to come. This legacy is living proof that the change within one individual can transform an entire family system, profoundly impacting collective consciousness. Generational healing is a spiritual and energetic phenomenon that goes beyond what we can see or measure. When we choose to confront inherited wounds and face them with courage, we are, in a sense, freeing our ancestors from the same emotional and spiritual bonds that imprison them. It's as if the work we do within our own souls resonates in all directions of time, bringing relief and clarity to those who never had the opportunity to heal their own pain. Imagine, for instance, a rusted chain. Each link represents a generation, each bearing marks of fear, suffering, or limiting beliefs. By choosing to become aware of these marks and working to polish our own link, we help restore the strength of the entire chain. Not only do we become freer, but we also offer our descendants a new starting point, a more solid foundation for their own journeys. This process, while deeply transformative, is not easy. It requires us to face difficult truths and allow ourselves to feel intense emotions. Often, as we begin this work, we may encounter feelings of guilt or indignation, especially when we recognize that some of the wounds we carry were inflicted by those we loved. But it is precisely in this space of vulnerability that we find our greatest strength because it is here that we can consciously choose how to respond. With anger or compassion, with resistance or acceptance. The journey of the chosen ones is not only about interrupting patterns, it is also about creating something new. As we heal the wounds of the past, we create space to cultivate qualities like love, generosity, courage, and resilience, qualities that become the foundation of a new legacy. Every small act of kindness we practice, every healthy boundary we establish, and every conscious decision we make builds a brighter future for those who follow in our footsteps. This transformation also serves as inspiration for those around us. When we choose to break cycles of pain, we become a living example of the possibility of transcending inherited limitations. Our journey inspires others to question their own patterns and seek their own healing. In this way, the impact of the Chosen One's work extends beyond their direct lineage, reaching friends, colleagues, communities, and even strangers they encounter. Embracing this role is a reminder that being chosen does not mean carrying the weight of the world alone. On the contrary, it means recognizing that while we are agents of transformation, we are never without support. Divine strength, ancestral wisdom, and the support of authentic connections are always available to guide and sustain us on this journey. Ultimately, the legacy of the Chosen Ones is a testament to love. Love for oneself, for those who came before, and for those who will come after. It is an act of courage and faith, a declaration that no matter how deep the wounds of the past, the future can always be rewritten with light, hope, and purpose.